Good afternoon. This is Debra V. Wilson. I am in Bradford in West Yorkshire. I only realized today Bradford was in West Yorkshire. I did. Who knew, right? Well, maybe, probably everyone did. I don't have a good sense of direction. But the bus ticket that I had, the bus journey that I took here, it said Bradford, West Yorkshire. Who knew? Probably everyone. So I'm going to apologize in advance. I'll be doing a great deal of hemming and humming. My parents spent a small fortune on my education, and okay. Well, anyway, here we go. Today is Monday. It's the 21st of May, 2019. The time is 1500 hours and 35 minutes, and that's GMT. And again, I'm in Bradford, which is in West Yorkshire. And I'm betting everyone knew that. Today, I'm in Bradford doing some field work for my independent research that is self-funded. Oh boy, is it self-funded. In any case, I'm doing all of this because my passion has been for probably, I think it's fair to say, 2 decades, how security models are constructed. I tend to these days look at it from a bottom-up perspective, so I'm looking at the state, but I've also had some curiosity because I lived in Dundalk, and academic and intellectual curiosity about the ways in which civilians, paramilitary groups construct security models. So back to the state. The United Kingdom the government is expending a fair bit of bandwidth, resources, trying to understand the process of extremism and radicalism. What that process is like and what it's about. That brings me to the reason I'm making this podcast today. I don't have the answer, of course I don't. If I had the answer, my research wouldn't be self-funded. So, but I'm hopeful that this podcast will become a part of the discourse. I went to the Bradford City Library, and you have to log on. There's this log on page that I couldn't get to. I tried several times, it didn't work, so I reached out to the librarians. And one of the librarians I reached out to was a librarian I initially spoke to. And she directed me upstairs, what we call the second floor in the U.S., and they call the first floor here. And there were 2 gentlemen that helped me, and they tried various things. And anyway, we ended up getting into a conversation. And I want to say in advance, I told them the reason I was here in the UK. They made it very clear that they couldn't give an opinion. That's fine. They didn't give an opinion, but they certainly gave examples to the girth of their intellectual minds, and it was unbelievable. I was so frustrated that I couldn't get online, and I eventually did, but I was so frustrated, but that frustration was completely obliterated with the conversation by these 2 very brilliant minds. And we talked about Google and the mechanism of search engines, namely Google, not singling out Google, but this didn't come from me. I hope it's okay to say one of the librarians spoke about nothing we do is done without our internal bias. Even when we search online, we're searching online, and what we put in is based on how we construct what it is we're looking for. And the reason why he made this comment is I had tried all these things to get online, and I felt like I was in this circular logic was happening, and I kept doing the same things but different ways and coming up with the same answers. And that's what precipitated him making the comment. And so that's when I brought up my research, and you could see that both of them, oh, he can't comment on that. And I said, oh, that's fine, that's fine. But I asked a little bit more about their mindsets as librarians, as intellectuals, as thinkers that spend their time immersed in the wonderful world of books and people pontificating and giving voice to themselves and the worlds in which they live in. And they said, it was wonderful. They talked about the internet and all of its brilliance, and I don't think most of us would dispute that, but that even with this massive ability to literally engage with the world, most of us are boxed in by our biases. And so what we seek on the internet is not the World Wide Web, but what we want, which is some version of self, right? Self we believe ourselves to be, a self we believe we want to be. So even with the World Wide Web, we're still feeding back me. And we were talking about the World Wide Web for the generation that's born knowing nothing but the internet and never having the joy of having to go into a library and physically look for a particular subject and read myriad books and do this. But you can go online and now look up a book and get the cheat sheet, right? And what certainly, I don't think the expediency, the girth of the internet would be criticized by many, but the lack of ability for the internet isn't inherently built for nuance. You have to, metaphorically speaking, physically reach out for the nuance. And I thought as I listened to one of them speak, and they're younger than me, but neither one of the gentlemen would be a teenager. And we talked about the importance of libraries, and one of them said, and then they think we don't need libraries, which of course we do, because we need the books in the library and the differences in opinions and thoughts. And we need, the most important thing in the library may not necessarily be the books, but the ability to engage with librarians who, by their very nature of the construct of their job, is to open us to the possibility of discovery of those said books, to pique our interest and our desire to seek, to challenge self, to learn more. I was, and I am now, I cry all the time. It's just this ability that we have as human beings to either settle and only seek what makes us comfortable and to constantly reinforce and revalidate again and again, or this God-given, or however you define, ability to go out of self and discover and challenge and learn. And so I certainly don't know the process for radicalization, but much of it, according to MI5 research, and I'm going to post that with this video, radicalization is happening faster and at a pace that has never happened before because of the ability of the internet. And that I'm saying this, how I understood what I read, is the constant ability to go out very quickly and reach out and learn and to reinforce and learn that other people think the same thing. You don't have to physically look for people of the same ilk or like minds. The nature of the internet is it brings the world to you, and the functionality of the internet is it brings the world to you how you believe the world to be. So the ethos and the training of an impassioned librarian, from what I've read from SO15, the Counter-Terrorism Police, and MI5, the security services, they are taking a multi-pronged approach to understanding the radicalization process. Critical thinking can't hurt. Bolstering the young generation, well, everyone, but the young generation in general, to engage in critical thinking, to question why, and who are you, and why should I agree? Doesn't hurt. These two, the library today was such an eye. While I love libraries, my mother, both my parents were from Mississippi. My mother, her childhood was very different than my father's childhood. His family had more money and owned a house. And my mother's childhood, she and her parents and her family, her siblings, books were a luxury. And so I grew up in a middle class home with private school education, infused with the passion that both my parents had about learning, and my mother's joy of libraries, because she grew up in a place, in a space where in Mississippi where black people were denied the ability to read. My mother was sneaking and teaching adults when she was a child of 13 how to read. She was going through garbage cans to pull out newspapers to teach people how to read. So the precious way she viewed libraries, every place, country I've ever been in for any length of period, I go to the library. And every community I've ever lived in for any length of period, I have a library card from that community's library. And so today, it's my first day out and about Bradford. I arrived yesterday, and so today, my first full day out and about, that's what I went out looking for, was a library. And I wasn't disappointed. I reached out and went to the library to learn, to do my research, which is for me all about discovering and learning. You take a position and then you are challenging self to prove that position. And you come up with the answer that your honest efforts present you with. And I couldn't get online. I mean, it's a disaster, I thought. But it wasn't a disaster because I was in a library filled with librarians who were there to encourage critical thinking. Okay, not very much hemming and hawing, but a lot of emotional stuff. So I will post the information for the Bradford City Library. If you happen to be in the area, do go. I will post the article from MI5, and then there's some stuff from SO15. I may have said today is Monday. I have my days confused. It's actually Tuesday. So I'm in Bradford, West Yorkshire, and the date is the 21st of May 2019, and that is Tuesday, and the time now is 1500 hours and 48 minutes, and that's GMT. And this is Debra V. Wilson, and thank you very much.